Shaking, the windows were rattling, the house was moving.
Well, this morning, people in Stanley woke up to a 3.4 magnitude quake, then a 4.4 quake less than an hour later. Since the 6.5 magnitude quake back on March 31st, there have been more than 840 aftershocks, larger than 1.5 in size. CBS 2's Haley Kramer talked to the experts about these quakes and the mayor of Stanley about how they're dealing with the frequent jolts.
It's a little unnerving to a number of people, and just because of the uncertainty and, as to what's coming next and how long this may last.
Most of us in the Treasure Valley felt our home shake on March 31st. Plenty of you sent in your videos of your shaking chandeliers, the result of a 6.5 magnitude earthquake near Stanley. Mayor Steve Bottai says it was a rare occurrence before that day, but now...
I would say for about 6 weeks after that, maybe 10 to 12 per day.
He says most residents thought the aftershocks would taper off.
It's not that kind of thing that you just say, oh, there's another earthquake, and go on about your normal business.
They want to know why they're dealing with them almost 2 months later. So I asked the experts, who say this is pretty normal aftershock behavior.
We expect to see hundreds to thousands of aftershocks based on an earthquake of that size, 6.5.
Sometimes for the days following a big event, we may only see a few magnitude 2s and 3s, and then a couple times you'll see the magnitude 4s like we saw this morning, and then it may settle down for a little bit. Then we may get an even bigger one. We don't know, but this is a pretty typical sequence.
Dylan Mikesell and Lee Liberty are Boise State professors and part of a research team working with the Idaho Geological Survey and the USGS to learn more about the fault lines in the area.
We have installed a new network of temporary seismometers so we can better constrain the actual locations of these events. Why we're studying it is that we want to do a better job of locating where all of these aftershocks are occurring and actually determining the geometry of these two different fault systems and maybe how they're related to each other.
Liberty says these aftershocks are happening in less populated areas around Stanley, which is good.
If they start migrating towards Stanley or other areas, then we would be a little more concerned.
He says at this point, the shaking is more of a nuisance than anything else, a nuisance that those in Stanley should expect to stick around for a while.
Remind residents to not store heavy things above their head. Keep in mind that earthquakes don't injure people. Typically, things falling on top of you is how you get injured.
Haley Kramer, CBS 2 News.
Yeah, Denny, that crash happened right here on the corner of McMillan and 5 Mile Road in Boise. 2 teenagers were killed in this crash, and the 2 sisters who survived are taking it day by day as they move forward. Sammy and Maddie Swenson, along with their friend Ava Sawyer, were driving here when they collided with a car speeding through the intersection. Ava died on scene. Sammy and Maddie suffered serious injuries. Now, 2 weeks later, Sammy is out of the hospital and doing much better. Maddie is still in a rehab facility. They say it's going to be a tough road forward, but they couldn't have made it this far without each other.
I just think it's a super hard experience, but if you surround yourself with the right people, you get through it. Watching my sister recover is such a blessing, but also it's so difficult. There's a whole other aspect to it where it affects your life, and so really just having people think about us and just having us in their thoughts is one of the biggest things.
Right now, it's not clear when Maddie will be able to come home, but her family is hopeful. They've had to follow strict visiting protocols because of COVID-19. Only one parent can go in at a time, and the number of visits is also limited. The girls are also struggling with the loss of their friend Ava, who died in this crash. We have a link to their GoFundMe page on our website, idahonews.com. Live in Boise, Krista McPeak, CBS 2 News.
Anything unique about this?
Touring a Ford auto factory that switched gears to make protective equipment, President Trump showed off his own.
Here's my mask right here. And I liked it very much. Honestly, I think I look better in the mask.
Asked why he wasn't wearing it at this point in his visit,
I had one on before. I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it.
Ford's CEO on the president's decision.
It's up to him.
Not far away, also in Michigan, the state's governor taking a COVID test for the first time at a new drive-through site.
Not bad.
Around the country, especially on this Memorial Day weekend where parks and beaches may see their first large crowds, Americans are still considering how to safely socialize and what precautions they each must take.
Are masks needed at a backyard barbecue?
If you've got loud friends, yes. Again, if you can maintain the distance while you're outside, you are fine without masks unless you're in an area that is a bit of a hot spot at the moment. Have them with you.
You know, if it had been a traditional graduation, in all likelihood, Michaela's grandma would not have been able to attend. She's quite sick. But because of COVID-19, Middleton High School had to create other events for the class of 2020, and so Grandma tonight got to see Michaela in cap and gown after all. Trevor Fay shows us the celebration.
Just because Middleton High School is having a drive-through graduation this year doesn't mean the students can't still have fun with it. I spoke with the Dorman family about what they're doing for the ceremony.
This is Michaela, Terry, and Brooke. They're heading to Michaela's graduation ceremony in style thanks to this hot pink limo. Michaela's grandmother, Terry, is struggling with lung disease. She's in need of a double transplant. A graduation in a crowded auditorium would be impossible, but a ride in a limo for a drive-through ceremony was possible, and she was determined to see her granddaughter graduate.
It's been a roller coaster ride, very much so. I've been in quarantine, actually, since about the 1st of December, and then back and forth and mostly in the hospital.
With so much happening at once, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but the family's holding it together during this complicated time.
It's a very tough thing to do and deal with at the moment, but it's the way it goes, the way the coronavirus is going.
Michaela plans to pursue a career in cosmetology after graduation. Her parents and grandparents are very proud of her, especially because of what they've gone through to be here.
It's been a crazy year. Unexpectedly, my mom's been told that has to have a double lung transplant, and with the COVID and everything come down, it's kind of put everything on hold.
There's no date set for Terry's lung transplant. All they can do right now is wait.